Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the next episode of the Mint Mob Podcast. Jason here, joined by my buddy Alex across the pond in Germany. We're going to jump into what's happening in the world of NFTs and Web3, and of course, dive into a little bit of the project. But before we do that, let's check in and see how Alex is. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, yeah, I've had a really busy day actually. I've been in touch with many artists today. I think I just checked. I have like 12 open conversations with artists that I reached out to today. And it's great. I mean, I love looking at them. I love checking out their portfolios. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about is when I go through all these profiles and I check what these artists do. There is a website called Super Rare, which is a page where you can basically buy fine art. That's how they that's what they claim to do. And when I look at the artists, and there's actually a leaderboard where you can see who has like the biggest transaction volume, who has like the biggest average sale. And I was going through that leaderboard and seeing that all these artists do like super high volumes, like I don't know, 20,000 in a week or something. And when I look at them doing really high, sales volume on Super Rare, I noticed that a lot of the work, especially in the top 20, feels much closer to contemporary or traditional gallery art. It's often abstract, conceptual, sometimes difficult to immediately understand, whereas the space where we live in, like the work we drop, like the people we work together with, is much more character driven and PFP-ish. And that made me wonder, like, is that kind of art actually perceived as more valuable, or does it simply use the visual language that we've been taught to associate with valuable art? What do you think? Have you checked Super Rare ever in your life?
Yeah, I have. I haven't been on there in a minute, but you sent me this link this morning, and I was trying to pull it up just recently. It's not even loading, so I don't know what's going on over there. But again, more Web3 nonsense, and this is another ETH website, so who knows? It's clunky and slow, but I've seen the work that you're talking about. I saw it earlier, of course, when we were talking about this. But yeah, a lot of these artists who do this type of work have a presence in the real world doing something, whether it's whether this is their main gig or not, they're at least from the top artists, the ones that are performing financially, you can see a lot of these guys and girls have a list of buyers that exist in the real world. So, and you have to, if you're spending, if you're going to create like a large piece of art on, like acrylic or something like that, you're going to spend money on materials that's going to cost you more than what most NFT art sells for. So you've got to be able to invest in the materials first and then create the piece second, and then know or have some sort of confidence that you're going to actually move the piece. So, the only way you do that is you have an actual list of buyers or collectors in the real world that are willing to follow you along. And for all I know, like if I haven't looked at a lot of these, but I know a lot of these artists are selling the NFT work as like a bonus. Some of them, will give it to you along with the physical. And so, I think these are just all really nice ways of getting the work out into the world. And, if they want to use something like Super Rare as like a portfolio home or something to that effect, that makes a lot of sense. But a lot of these people they've already been successful to some degree in the real world, and now they're playing in the NFT world, and it's just supplementing what they're already doing. So it makes a lot of sense. In terms of valuations, there hasn't been what's the best way to word this? Like, there has been like very strong and very expensive character art in the real world, as well as in NFT world. The thing is that with character art, you want to provide some sort of story that makes the characters relevant, or some sort of history or some sort of provenance that allows the characters to be relevant. You could look at something like the Charlie Brown, like a Charlie Brown cartoon strip, or like a Dick Tracy cartoon, something as simple as that, all the way through to like in the 90s and 2000s when I think it was MTV was producing like the very special Christmas albums, and the artist that did the little characters on those like CD covers and album covers, that character that he drew was very iconic for that era. And so like anything with that character on it, if you pull up those album covers, you'll see what I mean. Like that artist doing that character is associated with him, and that character is super valuable so long as it's done by him, right? So again, like the story is what sells in terms of character. So that's where development of IP is really important. And this is something that the NFT market is still figuring out. So can they be more or less valuable? Yeah, absolutely. What's the tendency? Well, the tendency is, if you're a fine art collector, is to have something your friends don't have. If you're a character collector, it's very possible that you're going to have something that your friends can have. And so it's two different mindsets. It's like exclusivity versus I really like the thing in the story and my buddy can have one too. So if you really want to have that upper echelon of exclusivity, you want like the finer one-of-one pieces of art, and that's not what you get when you buy characters.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but let's take a look at the art isolated from characters or brands behind them. Like, do you think we subconsciously value something more when it looks like it belongs in a gallery? Like, is there some kind of gallery effect? Like, imagine seeing the exact same artwork in two situations. Once you see it scrolling through X between memes, PFPs, and NFT announcements, and you maybe think, cool image. And now imagine it on a massive screen in a completely white gallery, nothing around it, artist's name on the wall, there is a title, maybe a short cryptic description, and suddenly you feel like this is art. How much of the value of the art actually comes from the artwork itself, and how much comes from the environment telling us that it's important?
I think most of it just comes from sheer bullshit. So, I mean, when you look at the gallery world, it's just a system. It's like Hollywood, right? Like it's a system of promoting the few in the interest of the few. And so if you look at something like Andy Warhol soup cans, right? If you're walking down the street and you saw a soup can poster, are you going to think, oh my God, fine art, really expensive? Fuck, no, you're not. But if you know art history and you know Andy Warhol's contribution to pop art and the Campbell soup can story, then you're going to be like, oh damn, that's Andy Warhol's Campbell soup cans. Wow, that's amazing. I hope I can pick up one or get a print or whatever the case may be, right? But if it's Jason's soup cans or Alex's soup cans, nobody gives a fuck. Right? So why is that? Well, it's because Andy Warhol has the reputation in that space and the provenance from that era, and we don't, right? And so like you can look at something and say, oh, well, that's a beautiful fine art piece. It looks like it goes on a gallery wall, it looks expensive. And then you come to find out that it sold for $20. Like it just comes down to in the moment, like in the art gallery system, you have to realize it's a gated system, and some people are going to get through, some people are not. And a lot of that's going to be based on what the gallery thinks they can sell. So what they think they can sell, they're going to call good. And what they don't think they can sell, they're not even going to look at, right? So you can find art that is way better than what you would find on a gallery wall, walking down some streets of New York or Chicago, and, it's not going to be worth anything. But if you associate a name with it, or you associate a auction house with it, or a specific gallery with it, then that changes everything. But yeah, of course, different things have different looks, which was your question. Something can look fine art and be fine art, or something can look fine art and not even be able to make it through the door. It just comes down to all of those other factors that I previously mentioned.
I mean, to some degree, it feels like PFP culture accidentally, or maybe not even accidentally, but it kind of devalued its own art with the NFT boom. I mean, when people see PFP style artwork, especially from people from crypto, like what are the associations? Like they feel like, or they think about collections, trades, rarity, floor price, Discord, and in the end, speculation. they don't necessarily think artist, artwork, meaning, provenance, I don't know, cultural significance. So you could, argue that the NFT boom actually created a disadvantage for character-based digital artists. And yeah, but like, do you feel like the NFT boom made PFP style art harder to take seriously as fine art?
I think it depends on your lens. Like I'll throw the same question back to you. What do you think?
I mean, I probably cannot, like, when I see PFP-ish art, I like in the beginning, I immediately wondered, like, hey, what collection is it from? I didn't really see it as artwork itself, and I definitely realized and noticed that the whole NFT influence was somewhere in my head, and I felt like, okay, I didn't really think about what's the meaning behind it. I found myself being trapped in that NFT mindset, and kind of it kind of was influenced by all that. But obviously now, given that we have had so many experiences with artists, and especially now as we also show things like work in progress videos, and the show the way these things are created, and hear the background story from the artists, and the inspirations and all that, that all brings us back to what art actually should be. And I feel like we are obviously part of the education system in the NFT space, and bring people back to to the right values, and show them what really matters, right?
Man, that was a lot of words not to answer the question. You're talking about valuing, or how someone might value PFPs. Like how do you value the PFPs? You're like, well, all I care about is what collection it came from, right? So, I mean, that right there is the answer to your question. If that's the answer to your question, then you're placing no value on the art at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah, that's true.
and yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. So, like, if you're placing no value on the art unless it's part of a specific collection, then what that tells me is that you're coming from NFTs to start with. Whereas if I talk to someone and they're like, oh man, that piece looks really cool. And they're like, how would I pick one up, or, where did this come from, or who was the original artist, or whatever the case may be. They're coming from a different lens, maybe from the traditional world, and they don't know anything about NFT collections. So they're just looking at the piece or the character saying, oh wow, that's, that's really well done. I like it, But if they had all those scars from 2020 or 2021, whenever the boom was, then they would probably look at it the same way that you just outlined, which tells me that they're coming from like that degen Web3 mindset from back in the day. And they've been taught to look at it that way. But someone on the outside of Web3 looking in is going to have a completely different perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when I try to find answers to that question, and like to some degree, I thought that maybe expensive art needs to be a little, how can I frame it, difficult maybe. With character art, when I see a PFP, when I see a GoodFellas NFT, I immediately understand what I'm looking at immediately, right? And with abstract art or conceptual work, there can be a gap between seeing and understanding, right? And that gap creates room for interpretation. What does it mean? Why did the artist make this? Why this composition? Why this title? And that creates conversation. And like I have that kind of thinking sometimes when I look at NSC pieces, for example, right? And that conversation creates like cultural like depth around the work. And like, yeah, but obviously, expensive art does not need to be difficult, right? But that, like, I had all these thoughts around it, and I feel like, yeah, if everyone immediately understands an artwork in like 3 seconds, does that somehow make it feel less valuable?
I mean, it's a good question. I think it just depends, again, like the lens that you're looking at the piece from, right? Like if I look at most NFT collections, most of them are trash. I'm just going to be really brutally honest. Most of them are not well thought out. Most of them do not have like a a theme that actually makes sense for anything outside of just trying to do something unique. It's like, okay, well, we've got to produce, X number of pieces, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 pieces. Therefore, we need to have X number of traits. Well, it's like, okay, if I'm looking at a collection filled with, I don't know, let's say it's like skeletons, like skull creatures or whatever, right? And I'm looking
Yeah.
at the collection and I'm like, okay, well, skulls, like skulls or skull and crossbones, they have this tendency to mean in the real world, what they mean is like for life, like you're committed to a thing for life. So I'm going to wear the skull. You see this a lot on like biker leathers or like military uniforms. There's always skulls. And what that means is they're committed to this lifestyle until death. That's what that means. Well, okay, if I'm looking at a skull collection, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is gonna mean to death. What are they talking about being part of until death? And then I look at one of the pieces and it's got like it's got like a angel wings on it, or it's got like like a spear, and it's like, okay, well, we're going angel wings, we're going spear, yeah, we're going like all these different random traits. Like, what does this have to do with what you're trying to communicate, right? And so I think that if you don't think the collection through and put traits that make sense with the idea that you want to portray, then it really can be something that you look at and dismiss. It's like, okay, well, like this evil-looking skeleton with like pretty angel wings, that doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's the angel of death, right? Okay, well, how come the wings have feathers but the character doesn't have skin? That doesn't make any sense, right? So, like, you can look at it a bunch of different ways. So I think that like really thinking the collection through and like putting it through some sort of logical gate in addition to like a creativity gate makes for thinking it through, like, what is this about? And if you can do that, and very few collections do this very well, but if you can do that, then someone will actually take a look at the overall collection and see, oh, okay, there's a color theme here, there is a trait theme here. What is this collection or artist or project trying to communicate? And then that's where you can go a little bit deeper. But again, like, if you don't have that, then yeah, you're right. Like, it's just one glance and it's like, who cares? It's done.
I mean, you keep referring to collections. So do you feel like a digital artwork can it achieve the same like fine art status when there are how many pieces does the collection have? 10,000. So when there are 9,999 visually related pieces next to it, can it still achieve that same fine art status compared to a one of one?
Well, I mean, think about it. Like if you're talking about fine art and you're talking about fine art being defined as like an abstract piece or a more detailed painted piece, or like, oil or acrylic or whatever the case may be. Like if you're talking about medium and you're talking about subject matter, then there's always going to be a separation. But that's true when you go from any medium to another medium, whether it's photography to, like hand-drawn comics to cave paintings. Like there's always going to be a disconnect when you go from medium to medium. So what is it that you're actually comparing? Are you comparing the style of the artist to the style of another artist in the same medium who does the same similar style? Like if you're comparing impressionist paintings or painters or Renaissance painters, you can look at them and say, okay, well, this one has a finer brushstroke or this one does more detail. But at the end of the day, the end result looks very similar. And so if you're like an amateur sort of art person and you're looking at that, you're like, okay, well, there's really not much difference here. So why would I value this one over that one? Well, I either like this image more than I like that image, or I like the reputation of this artist over the reputation of that artist. It really comes down to that. But if you take like an impressionist painter and you compare them to, again, like coming through to something like pop art and Andy Warhol's Campbell's soup cans, like, what are you actually comparing? It's, the styles don't relate in any way, shape, or form. So like, is it the visual that you're drawn to? Is it the time period? from like the 15, 16, 17, 1800s all the way through to like the 1970s or 60s when the soup cans were prevalent? Or is it the artist's reputation? So, I mean, it's like comparing apples and oranges unless you really break it down by medium, by artist, by style or whatever, some meaningful way. But just randomly saying this is better than that or this has a greater fine art appeal than that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, like, what's the definition? Let me just check. Let me see what Google says what fine art is. To let me see if there is a clear definition. Fine art is visual or performing art created primarily for its aesthetic beauty, intellectual meaning, and creative expression, rather than for a practical or commercial purpose. And yeah, I mean, like, maybe we do not even have to pay too much attention or to look too close to the artwork itself, because maybe abstract art isn't inherently more valuable. Maybe art performs better in the high-end one-of-one market when it can be perceived as an independent artwork rather than an NFT product, you know?
Again, when you're talking about
Like,
value,
I'd say that the buyers, people buying from Super Rare, and it's interesting because in the beginning you mentioned that that these artists are well known as artists way before NFTs were around, and that's right, because what I noticed with many of those is that when I checked their X handles and I went onto their socials, I saw that many of them have a much bigger audience on Instagram, for example, or on Facebook, and that tells a lot about who their target audience is, in my opinion.
of course, yeah. Of course. I mean, if you go back and you read the definition of fine art again, that you put forth, like art is defined by created primarily for aesthetic value, beauty, and intellectual expression, rather than for any practical or utilitarian function. And then I think you mentioned something along the lines of for sale, right? So what you're describing is like the artist or the creators expressing something with no desire for any purpose other than just their personal expression, right? So if you want to define it that way, you could say that a PFP type collection would be for a greater purpose, because with PFPs you're going to have some sort of game, you're going to have some sort of rarity, some sort of ranking system. It's like like collecting cards or collecting comments. Like you're collecting a series of things for a different reason. And so if you're producing that type of material, then you're going to be producing those things for a different purpose, for a different game, right? So it's two different games, but that doesn't mean that someone who creates like a really nice PFP style collection didn't put aesthetic value or beauty or express themselves in those pieces, right? They just had another purpose in addition to that.
Yeah, I get that, absolutely. I mean, what's interesting is that when you think about a gallery, that's just the perfect transition into what I wanted to talk about next, because you and I, we have a great app called Blogs that you developed, and you have shown us that we got the ability now to actually display the NFTs that we own on our TV screens at home. And that's actually quite interesting, because if I look at the NFTs, on my wall, on my TV screen in that big size, they kind of give me a whole different vibe. And it's almost as if the perception, even my own perception of the art changes, by the way looking at them. And it feels like especially some pieces, like if I look at like a piece from Anna Shi on my wall on that huge screen, it feels like this is fine art more to like compared to when I have like one of her pieces on my timeline between all these NFT degenerate crypto posts. And that's crazy, man. If that things can change, when you have things in your environment, and with the different ways of displaying the NFTs. And that's why I feel like this is an experience that people need to make. Like, people need to be able to, they are obviously able to do that now, but they need to witness that, they need to try it, they need to really follow your instructions, and need to see how their NFTs look, like when they're actually displayed on their TVs, because it's such a different experience. And I love to be able to experience every single NFT that way now. From now on, I'll definitely create a huge grip and have that on my TV 24/7.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely changes things. I was watching a stream the other night that I created in blocks and pulled up on the television. And I've got a pretty large television in, we have a little TV room, and it's like an 85-inch Samsung.
How big is it?
It's 85.
Oh, 85 is crazy. 85
Yeah,
is huge.
it's pretty good size. And I'm sitting there, in the recliner, like running this stream, and the pieces are rolling across the screen. And because the room was quiet, it was at nighttime, it was dark, it was quiet, wifey was already in bed asleep, and I'm just watching the screen flash different images. And it's more of a meditative experience. So not only can you pick up more of the details in the pieces, and you actually, if you sit there and just watch them flow across, it takes you through an experience of, in the mindset that you were in when you purchased it, or the emotions you felt when you were purchasing it, or, when you first saw it. And it kind of takes you to that place where you can just like meditate with the piece and get a little bit deeper experience. And so I had that experience with PFPs, and I had that experience with more fine art pieces, like from Anna or from Muna Luna or whomever. But all of the pieces that I own because I either am building a collection and I have an affinity for what that collection is putting forth, or I am, picking up a one-off piece from a particular artist who's a good storyteller that I have an affinity for. And so I have some sort of connection to all of them, and having that experience not be in my hands, like on a little tiny screen, but out away from me, looking at it across the room, like blown up huge on the wall. It's just, it basically pulls you in. And if you have an opportunity to have that experience, like if you go to a gallery, sometimes around the most interesting pieces, they'll have like a quiet area with a bench, and you can just sit on the bench and like stare at the piece. It's kind of that experience. And the whole idea is for you to make some sort of connection, or to relive some sort of memory or experience or nostalgia with it.
It actually would be next level if you could even have some kind of background music coming with it, because there are like all these new YouTube videos where you have like a setting of it, mostly AI music probably, but it's like, it's supposed to chill you down, and you have like a view of a lake or mountains or whatever, which are slightly animated. And a lot of people listen to those to chill and relax and, get down. And some people read to it, some people, I don't know, do whatever to it. And if we could have like background music, like just very calm, there's always a possibility to add background music using different devices, but maybe one day we'll be able to have that.
Well,
you can tokenize music, right?
Of course, you can tokenize anything. But I mean, if you're watching it at your house, just turn on some music. You don't have to wait for anything. Just turn on some freaking music, man. Stop being a help.
I only have one device in my house.
Yeah. Stop lying. Put some music on, man. You'll be fine. But no, like if you start including, music. I mean, again, like we're streaming content that we own or that we've created and have rights to. If you start adding music, you have to make sure that you own the rights to the music, et cetera, so on and so forth, right? So this is where
But these days you do not really have to be able to play an instrument to create music, right? Like, what do you think? Like, maybe we can have, like in the future when we have these animated NFTs and all that. Maybe at some point those NFTs will have like a sound as well. That's like possible to mint, right?
Yeah, of course. None of the wallets play video NFTs very well, and so you don't really want to sort of view them through a wallet anyway. But I mean, the file is the file. It's just stored on chain somewhere. So,
Hmm.
whether it's Arweave or whatever storage, scheme you're using, the file is not corrupted when you upload it. So anything you put up there that has sound is going to have sound, when you download
Hmm.
it. The issue is that most wallets don't support it. So you'd have to build a little tool that would support it.
Did you say a little tool?
Yeah, you'd have to build a little tool that would support it.
Um, yeah, I mean, what if you used like the Blocks app? Would you be able to get sound?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that with Blocks. I mean, Blocks is becoming a fairly large, complex app at this point. There's so many functions that it does, and I mean, a lot of the functions are pretty, I guess you'd say, like server intense. So at some point, you have to start breaking
Hmm.
some of that stuff out. Like if you wanted to do a streaming function with music, and then do it right, like you have to have IP rights to the music, and then you'd want to separate that stuff out, and then you'd have to build in like a separate chooser so that it chose specific NFTs. The reason I was able to incorporate the streaming into Blocks as quickly as I did was because we already built the NFT chooser. So it's already scanning the
Hmm.
blockchain. It's already pulling data in. It's already allowing you to build a grid of pieces. So all you're basically doing is taking what you've already done and turning it into a stream that you can then load into any smart television browser and set at full screen,
Mm.
and it'll play in the background, right? So, but yeah, music would certainly not change that in terms of how that was executed, but the rights aspect of it changes everything, and the file sizes are going to be changed, and so your streaming and the technology it supports is going to need to change as well. So it's a little bit of a different animal.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, are there still requests from people out in the community, basically requesting things added to Blocks besides everything we mentioned now?
I think I'm caught up on most of it. Most all of it has been added. I can't think of anything
Hmm.
that's major that's outstanding. So yeah, I think for the most part it's caught up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I love the layers. I definitely have to play around with the layers a little more. Um, I mean, at some point, there is like there could be a possibility to, because like there was actually the situation today when I wanted to showcase some of the recent artist incubator pieces to potential upcoming artists. I was trying to create a blog, and I did, but I wanted to have a layer that was not available. So there could be like the possibility to have like to be able to customize your own layer.
When you say layer, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like when you let me just pull it up real
Because
quick,
no one
and I
listening is going
can.
to know what we're talking about. So, like the blocks, the blocks app, just to catch everyone up. The blocks app is
Oh,
basically
yeah, I was confusing two words. I didn't mean layer. I meant layouts. So you have the
okay.
layouts, the different layouts on
Yeah.
on the Blocks app,
Yes.
and would there be a possibility to have custom layouts? Because I wanted to have like a big one on the left side, and then a couple of smaller ones on the right side, and the way I wanted to have it was not available. So would there be a possibility to build a layout yourself in the future, maybe?
Those layouts already exist. There's like 55 different layouts, custom layouts in there. The one you described already exists.
I'm not sure if the exact one exists, but I think when I checked, they were like the ones on the right hand side were like a little too small. But yeah, I mean, in the end, you can probably add any layout you want, and you'll probably cover 99% of the people who are looking for a layout. So that's great. And yeah,
Layouts.
regarding the streaming or the streaming on onto the TV. I'm not sure if you have provided any kind of tutorial for that, but it's mainly creating a blog, which is in the like a custom blog format, and then you have a little icon with a TV on it where you can click, and it gives you the link. Is that correct?
Yeah, so for everyone who's following along that doesn't know what we're talking about, the Blocks app
Hmm.
basically allows you to create grids of different pieces of artwork that you've collected on the Solana blockchain and on any Magic Eden or OpenSea link. You can pull in pretty much any images that you want. And basically what you can do is lay those images out on one screen, and then from there you can share those out. You can download them. You can put them on your timeline in whatever order you want. So it gives you more of an ability to interact with your artwork and see it, rather than it just hiding in your basically in your wallet on your phone, which is kind of a shitty way to hold art, because obviously if you're not sifting and sorting through your wallet every day, you don't really get to see it. So this is a way of bringing more of that artwork to life in the real world. And so there's a function that was added that allows you to stream your artwork to any screen. And this is what Alex is talking about. So if you create a block, if you create like a custom block, which is basically just like like a normal grid, a 3x3, a 5x5, a 10x10, you can put up to 100 pieces on it. You can turn that grid with the click of a button into a streaming link, and you can pop that streaming link into any smart device, whether it's a smart TV, smartphone, pad, computer, whatever. And then it'll actually cycle through the artwork that you've chosen at whatever pace you've chosen. And you just set your device in full screen, and now you've got a framed device on your wall that's actually cycling through your artwork. So maybe you create a block of like black and whites, or maybe you create a block of reds, and you have that screen in part of your house, and it just rotates through these images, and it stays fresh over time. So hopefully that answers the question.
It absolutely does. When I try to explain something, I always wait for you to basically summarize what I wanted to say, and even then, I understand it better compared to when when I try to explain. But yeah, another thing that most of you guys probably noticed this week is that we have a new co-host on Spaces, and that our Spaces shifted to Thursday. So Maria is taking on the role as a co-host in Mint Map Spaces. So she will be joining us this Thursday again. And yeah, if you haven't listened to the episode from last week, definitely do that. And of course, also to the episode we had with Creepy Steve, which was definitely one of the highlight episode this year. It's interesting how many people reached out to us and told us that we definitely need to have these kind of episodes again, speaking to artists about what they do and how they like. That seems to be pretty interesting for people, right? And I've actually following Creepy Steve since then, and he does so much great stuff, like with the little sketch cards he sends out and all the little add-ons he puts into the bags. It's so cool. Like the stuff he does is so great, and man, there are so many talented people out there. It feels like we still have you know so many people to get into the Goodfellas ecosystem. Um, and as mentioned, I have so many artists lined up for the artist incubator, and September is obviously as we as we will see. I start kind of rambling right now. That's why I'm kind of laughing. As we've seen in August, we have not minted anything, as we mentioned, besides the bonus piece we got from Maria, which dropped last week. So if you haven't gotten that yet, feel free to open a ticket. But we will proceed in September, and we will mint again, and I can't wait for that. Keep an eye out. We will have beautiful pieces launching. We have sealed a deal with an artist for the artist incubator, which is pretty outstanding as well. Looking forward to be able to reveal that as well. And that being said, let me think if I forgot anything. Jason, do we have anything to announce for August or for the next week that I haven't thought of?
I don't think so. I mean, we've been putting out tons of updates and information around like the art and the code. That's been the focus of this month. The next piece to drop will be the rewards app. So that's kind of like that's a big chunk of code. And so that's in process. And so we'll have that done, the end of this month, first of next, somewhere within the next week or two. And then from there, we'll be back into more of the swing of things because basically summer's ending and everything kind of gets back to normal. So for the most part, it's just going to be a return to getting back with the AI schedule, which is getting shining a light on a lot of the, like you mentioned, a lot of the artists in the space. Like there's so many different artists in the space and so much great work. We've got agreements with, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 artists right now to create for us. So we've got 5 or 6 drops that we can already do. And so that's going to fill up quite a bit of the fall. And then, of course, we've got a new artist working on mail form updates, which will be coming out here in the near future. Hopefully we can announce that artist. We just want to make sure that we're on the same page with what's being created. So we're waiting to finalize that. But yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of stuff on the go. So between that, the rewards platform, the upcoming AI pieces, new artist deals, I mean, dude, it's just insane. There's just too much. I mean, there's literally too much to do. So it's going to be assholes and elbows from here on out, really.
And on top of that, you still found some time to create some merch for ladies. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got some shirts going out. That's another thing I forgot to mention. We've got to get the storefront up. That's something that we talked about doing a while back, and we just did the one basic word mark design to kind of get everything started and kicked off, and people started asking for different colors and that sort of thing. So I just sort of dropped in Discord, like if you have a specific thing that you'd like, we can do a pre-order now before the website goes live, and we can start doing some shipping. But yeah, we've got some women's tanks hitting the market that have basically that simple word mark on it, and I've got a second design that's pretty much ready to go as well. I'll release that as soon as it's final, and then that's a lot, man. That's pretty much what's going on in the next little bit.
All right, yeah, a lot to come. I look forward to the rewards page, of course, all the beautiful art that lies ahead, and the merch. I really love the tank top that you showed. If the shop goes live, people will able to acquire all those pieces. It's going to be great. A lot of things to look forward to. And yeah, that being said, we will wrap things up. Make sure to join us on Thursday. As I mentioned, we will have Maria co-hosting again. And yeah, it still feels a little unusual to jump on Thursdays, but I really liked it, and I think we got a lot of people onto the spaces that are not there usually. So let's see how things go in the future. And that being said, have a great week, everyone. We hope to catch you guys on Thursday. Keep an eye out for announcements regarding updates for blogs or for art that is dropping in September. And of course, make sure to try to see your beautiful artwork on your TV screens. It's definitely worth it. And that being said, have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.